Okay.
Great.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lead an invitation this morning.
I will. Thank you. Pray with me, please. Father, we thank you for this morning that we have here to meet together. We thank you for the good health. We thank you for waking up, Father, and having another day. We ask now as we meet that you would help us to understand ways that we can help folks in our community, that we can work with within our club to make these things happen that you would have us do. We ask that you would give us the energy and the courage to see through those things as we discover what they may be. As always, Father, we give you thanks for the gift of our Savior, your Son, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Good morning, Sunrise Rotarians.
Good morning.
Hope everyone's doing well this morning. It's great to see everyone in person. We have a couple of guests with us this morning, so I'd like to give the opportunity for those individuals to invite our guests to welcome them and to introduce them and to learn a little bit more about them.
So, this is Gene Fitzsimmons, goes by Fitz. He and I talked together many moons ago. So he is a retired educator, former Marine. Any other good stuff?
Donald, move your head so I can see the guests. There you go. Thank
Get
you.
it all.
That's good. That's
We've
good.
been friends for 31 years. So
He's courageous too.
he is courageous. He is courageous.
I'm relatively impervious to insults.
Fantastic. Semper Fi.
We have been insulting for a long time. So, welcome.
Welcome, Gene.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you very much.
Help you develop that skill.
Indeed.
And my guest is Sheena Bennett. Got connected with Sheena through the Veterans Helping Veterans. So I'll let you tell the group your veterans connection and a little bit about yourself.
I'm Sheena Bennett. I'm a real estate agent here with eXp Realty in the local area. I retired from the Air Force in 2017, but any way that I can continue to serve, that's how I hooked up with Rick to see how I can continue to serve. And I was formerly, and still am, a very active member of the JCs, the Hickory JCs. And I have aged out. So I need a new group to make sure that I continue to serve our community. So,
35.
a little bit older.
Well, that means you've aged in.
Okay.
Yeah, you aged in here.
So, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Welcome, Gene.
Thank you for your service.
We can, with considerations of time, maybe just keep it a little bit briefer, but sometimes what we do as well with new guests, we'll go around and just briefly introduce ourselves. We're going to have Jeff do our program today, which will last about 20-25 minutes, and then we do have just a few club items to discuss. Rick has one item, Denny and I have two items, so we'll do some club business towards the end of our meeting. But sure, Jeff, you want to introduce and we'll just go around?
Okay, I'm Jeff Horvath. I'll be the incoming treasurer starting July 1st. The outgoing retired from the business. I'll be spending money for the club.
I'm Rick Van Dett, past president, and one of only 3 remaining charter members of this club.
I'm Jenny White. I am a retired educator as well, and the president-elect. So Jeff and I will transition into those positions. And you've already been introduced.
Donald?
I'm Donald Hicks. I have an organization, a couple nonprofits. One called Classroom Connection that gives school supplies that teaches in 7 counties. And I'm Also a founder of the basketball, Donald Hicks Basketball Day Camp, which this is our 20th year of allowing children to come and do sports and academics in the summer program. And that's about it. I'm a friend of Bob.
Robert Reinhardt, I'm secretary at this moment of the club. I'll be succeeded shortly, and I've been a member since 2000. A number of chairs. Anyhow, I'm an active Rotarian, and generally speaking, if you have a question, come ask me, and I'll find somebody who can get you the answer.
If you need to know anything about Rotary, right here.
I'm Cindy Ballinger. I own an insurance agency on Boulevard. I feel, maybe not, as time passes and people are around now, I feel like a relatively new member. Probably, but that was one of the reasons that I joined, was for service. Looking for a way to direct my energy instead of the scattershot approach of directing. And I found a home. So,
Welcome to Joy. I'm Joy in town, and my thing is I invited Cindy to join. So I'm very slightly older member than Cindy. My other campaign still invited me, but I enjoy the place to serve as well, and a group of new friends. Good morning. So I'm also a friend of Bob's. So.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's okay.
That's $1.
Oh yeah, get busy.
Donald was early. He gets extra credit.
Since I'm used to paying $1, I'll pay $1.
thank you, but I got it covered.
Well, actually, but she did, yeah.
I was going to say, who's responsible?
The rules of the game are, since I asked Laura to join, I have to pay her $5.
Oh, well, for your first year.
You have a one-year reprieve from any fines. That's Rick's responsibility. Bill?
And I'm Phil Trick. I'm a retired electrical engineer. My passion here with our Rotary Club is working within the community. I'm one of the folks that works regularly with the soup kitchen from our Rotary Club. We've always been a big supporter of the soup kitchen and other efforts within the community. My connection with the military is that my father was career Navy. So I grew up in a Navy household, and what the old man wanted is what the old man got in family. I said yes sir a lot. But appreciate all of y'all. That's, by the way, if you're not from the South, that is the plural version of y'all. All of y'all.
All y'all.
Yes, yes. I was trying to be a little more formal because of their setting. I wasn't going to use yuns. More formal, all of y'all. Service for our country. I also have to pay a fine because Rick had to do an emergency help for me last Wednesday or Thursday, because I got myself out of town and didn't get coverage for my soup kitchen responsibility. So
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday.
because there was pizza involved, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, somebody else was going to get the pizza. You
Yes.
wanted me to get to Lowe's Viewmont.
Yes, the other load.
And when I got there, they had nothing in the deli and nothing. Somebody must have picked it up.
Some of the group is usually getting the baked goods
On Wednesday?
on Wednesday, but not always. So I always check. And the
So that's
deli is.
$2.
He's also the acting sergeant at arms.
You need to explain the fines. The JV and Shayna are wondering, is this going to cost me?
Yeah.
Any screw up, or not even really a screw up,
Yeah.
if you look vulnerable that morning, you get fined.
Yeah.
And it's part of how we raise money for a couple of our different projects. So just, you always carry a couple bucks, kind of like guys used to go to bars, I think, and would have a couple extra bucks for various and sundry things. I've only heard
And they
about
fit
that.
right in the garter belt.
Exactly.
Please do not take the meeting today.
You kind of have to think in those terms, because at any moment in time you could get that. So,
The criteria for fines is AEWD. any excuse will do.
That's it.
And dollars for Cedric, we collected dollars.
That's right.
Meeting for,
Yeah.
theoretically, it's for my huge dog's food, but it really goes to this thing that we do each winter to feed the hungry, that we do this big day and we make soup and we feed this big day. So everybody pays $1. I won't feed Cedric with it, I promise. He weighs 142 pounds, but I won't feed him, I promise.
But we
term
say
you-
that that's what it's for, that it's for.
the terms you will hear are,
Christ Lutheran
are
Church.
winter warmth.
That's
We
what
used
it's
to give
called.
out gloves and socks and blankets and feed the needy, because our church every third Saturday does that anyhow, so we coincide with one of those days to provide a meal.
My name's Roger Irvin. I'm the Human Resources Officer at Cotton Valley Community College. I also work with diversity and inclusion initiatives at the college. I've been with the club maybe about 3 years now. Current president, Jenny will follow me. She's the incoming president. And I followed Rick. Just really enjoy participating with Rotary, doing things in the community, some of these different functions that have been mentioned. Just really enjoy the fellowship, with hanging out with everyone, but also doing good. Lori?
Hi, I'm Lori. It's nice to meet you again. I work for Veteran Services of the Carolinas. Also volunteer with the Veterans Service Veterans. I've been with the club for what, 6 months? 7 months maybe?
Well, maybe a little longer than that, because we were meeting over there before it got too cold, and you were coming to those meetings. And that was last summer, at least. So
Yeah. So maybe about 8 months.
yeah. Okay.
So you want me to show you how the fines work? I think you're her sponsor, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, she didn't know how long she's been here. Rick gets fined.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, help. If you want to be the assistant, he don't need any help with the finance.
But Donald, you have to know, Donald is probably the most fine person.
Yeah.
Because he never, except today, gets here on time.
He was on time for
He
sure.
was on time.
Easy buck is being late.
Now, guess what?
And just so Sheena and JB understand, again, this fine
Yes, sir.
goes just for stuff we may need toward the end of the year to help at the end of the year banquet. The money to Cedric is going to go to the church
Yeah.
in January, usually. Usually
Right.
we do that in January.
We don't let anybody retire from the club. I keep everybody's name on the mailing list, so you see a lot of names when your name goes on that aren't here you won't recognize, because when Rick mentions that, the lead person for us up until July 1st of this year has been Richard Tucker. And he is still going to lead the Feed the Needy.
He's part of the alumni club.
Yeah, he's part of the Winter Warmth team, so he'll still be involved.
Mr. President, excuse me one time, and Mr. Sergeant at Arms.
Yes, sir.
Seeing how I'm always fined for being late, should everybody else be fined when I'm early? I'm asking.
I was
Sir.
just thinking that, Donald. I was pretty sure I'd beat you today.
Thank you. And Rick should be hit again because I'm early. Does that make sense?
It rarely
The
happens.
logic escapes
It
me, I'm
happens
sorry.
rarely enough that I would say, yeah, we need to honor this moment.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it.
And Donald's on.
Jenny can get you a marker.
That's true.
Can I ask, could you spell your first name?
My full name, which you'll see on papers and things, is Tasheenia, but I go by Sheena. I just remove the TA in front, so it's Sheenia.
Okay.
And one thing I wanted to mention about Rick, when he gave his introduction, and he's just too bashful to say it, he's a pretty famous character. He's actually a veteran of the Civil War. Here's my dollar.
I was going to say that.
That's $5.
Worth a dollar.
Worth a dollar.
And I have a long memory, too.
Well, Well, again, welcome to our guests this morning. Thank you all for sharing. I would like to hand the meeting over to Jeff for his program today.
I hate to give this program in front of all of these educators because you probably know more about this topic than I do. But I'd like to thank Roger for allowing me to present this program, which is near and dear to my heart, and to you Rotarians for the next 20 minutes to hear what I have to say. It's actually a history lesson, and it's hard to cram 250 years in the next 20 minutes, and I'm going to try to do that. And this material will not be tested to even last, although I make fun of people from time to time. What I plan to discuss today is the emancipation from Great Britain, the Articles of Confederation, the Constitution of the United States of America, Title 26 of the United States Code, and the Internal Revenue Service. So we're going down through the layers to get to the IRS. The colonies were having a tough time with Britain back in the 1770s, as you well know. And they were mad because Great Britain was not listening to them. They were not allowing them to participate in their own government and what was going on. So in order to correct it, the colonies decided that they would send King George a letter and claim that they were independent, and they disavowed the crown. And on July the 4th of 1776, they considered themselves independent and free, even though that they knew that England was going to resist this idea. The first thing that they did, as far as, and again, I'm just hitting highlights. I can't possibly go through all that's in there. And the first document that they wrote or came up with was the Articles of Confederation. And a lot of this I'm going to read, and I know you don't like to be read to, but I want to make sure that it's accurate, because in the end, you'll see the point I'm trying to get to. But the Articles of Confederation was an agreement between the 13 colonies of the United States, and it serves as the first constitution. It was approved after much debate from July 1776 to November 1777 by the Continental Congress. And on November the 15th, 1777, it was sent to the states for ratification. The Articles of Confederation came into force on March the 1st, 1781. All of y'all remember that, right? I mean, you were probably little back then, but anyway. The guiding principles of the Articles was to preserve the independence and sovereignty of the states, and it formed a weak central government, was established with only powers that the former colonies recognized as belonging to the king and the parliament. It quickly found out that changes could not be made to the Articles, and it needed to be completely replaced. So on March the 4th, 1789, the government under the Articles have replaced the federal government under the Constitution. The new Constitution provided for a much stronger federal government with the existence of a chief executive or the president, the courts, and taxing powers. Congress was denied any powers of taxation. That's important. It only could request money from the states, who often failed to remit what they fully owed, leaving the Continental Congress and the Continental Army desperately short of money. The Articles of Confederation contained a preamble, 13 articles, a conclusion, and the signature section. That's it on Articles of Confederation. Okay, is the United States a democracy or a republic?
Representative.
It's what?
Representative democracy.
Republic.
You're all right, except for they say it's both. Because the United States is both a democracy and a republic. Democracies and republics are a form of government in which the supreme power resides in its citizens. The name republic refers specifically to a government where the citizens choose representatives who govern them to law. And the democracy can be either one. It could be they can have representatives, or they can do it themselves. A direct democracy is one where the citizens themselves do the voting. Can you imagine that if they had to have an election every time something happened in Congress, and everybody in the United States had to vote on it? It would be, could possibly be worse than it is now.
It'd be like last year.
Yep, that's right. So anyway, under Republic, we hire the people to make sausage. And under true democracy, the direct democracy, we make it ourselves. We make the sausage ourselves. The next area I want to cover is the Constitution of the United States. I happen to bring the Constitution right here. I read it very frequently. And even in this small little book here, let's see how many pages are there. Let's see, articles. Just memorize this. There are only 18 pages in this book that are actually Constitution. All the rest of them are amendments to the Constitution. So you can see how small the Constitution actually is, but it was designed to be changed. I wanted to bring a copy of the Internal Revenue Code, but I threw it away when I left for work. But the Internal Revenue Code is about that thick, and that's just the code. The regulations, you know, would be about that thick. So by comparison, the Constitution is a much smaller document. And again, I'm going to read to you again. On June 21st, 1788, New Hampshire was the 9th and final state to ratify the Constitution, making it the law of the land. Article 1, Section 2, Subsection 3, representatives and direct taxes shall be appointed among the several states which may include within the Union according to their representative numbers. They talk about direct taxes. Article 1, Section 7, Subsection 1. All bills raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate shall, can make amendments or accept the bill the way that it is written. We all remember that one. That's pretty famous. Okay, Article 1, Section 8, Subsection 1. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imports, excise, and pay debts, and provide the common defense and the general welfare of the United States, but all duties, imports, excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. Article 1, Section 9, subsections 4, 5, and 6. No capitalization or other direct tax shall be laid upon unless the proration of the census and enumeration within is directed to be taken. No tax or duty shall be laid on the articles of export from any state. In other words, the states can't tax with excise tax. No preference shall be given to regulations, commerce, or revenue to ports of one state over another. Nor shall vessels bound to or from one state be obligated to enter, clear, or pay duties to another. If South Carolina is shipping cotton to Pennsylvania, South Carolina can't charge Pennsylvania a tax or a duty. Here's the important article, which is Article 5 of the Constitution. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or, on application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid in all interest and purpose as part of the Constitution, when ratified by the legislators of 3/4 of the several states, or the convention of 3/4 thereof of one or the other. The mode of ratification may be proposed by Congress. So what this is saying is that either if 2/3 of Congress wants to have an amendment, or 2/3 of the states want to have an amendment, they can go about proposing this amendment. However, it takes 3/4 of either one of them to pass it. That's why that there was a lot of things that were actually proposed because they met the 2/3, but could not meet the 3/4. The best example I can think of is women's right to vote. It took years and years and years, even though they wanted to have it, they never could get the 3/4, in the states. So Article 5 is important. Does anyone know how many? I'm not going to call on anybody. Does everyone know how many amendments there are to the Constitution currently?
27.
Close. You're 5 short, or it's 6 short.
6 short? 33?
There's 33 amendments to the Constitution. I'm only going to talk about one. Amendment 16 in 1913. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on income from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states and without regard to any census or remuneration. What I was reading you all through the Constitution until I got to the Amendment 16, was they taxed, but they didn't tax income. However, in 1913, income tax was not the first time that income tax was proposed.
Civil War.
Civil War. That's right. You know your history. Okay, next I'm going to talk about, I'm going to tell you about Title 26, also known as the Internal Revenue Code. Title 26 applies to the statistical work conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau to collect of the IRS data about households and businesses. Here's one of the most important code sections for IRS agents, which is in Section 61 of the Internal Revenue Code defines gross income, the starting point to determining which items of income are taxable for federal income tax purposes in the United States. Section 61 states that except as otherwise provided in this subtitle, gross income means all income from whatever source derived. And the reason that's so important to the IRS is because we don't have to fight to determine what income is, although we do all the time. But what it says is every single receipt that you get is taxable unless it's specifically excluded in the code. So if someone comes to me and says, this is not income, I say, okay, show me in the code where it says it's not income. And if they can't show me in the code where it doesn't say it's income, 61 says it is. The best example I can think of is loans. If you go out and you borrow money from BB&T and you get that money in, it's income unless it's excluded. It's excluded. Loans are not taxable. So therefore, that's one of the areas that, and believe me, I've used Code Section 61 a lot, as you can well imagine. I want to give you a few highlights. When I was in training for the IRS, I remember one of my instructors said that, you use the yellow highlighter to highlight the important parts, and he would look at some people's papers, and it looked like they had just taken a brush and painted it yellow because it's all important. Okay, Phil, this one's yours. President Lincoln signed into law a revenue-raising measure to help pay for Civil War expenses. The measure created a Commissioner of Internal Revenue Service and the first nation's income tax. It levied a 3% tax on income between $600 and $10,000 and a 5% tax on income of more than $10,000. So that was in 1862. Okay, in 1867, heeding the public opposition to income tax, Congress cut the rates. They didn't abolish it, they just cut the rates. From 1868 to 1913, 90% of all revenue came from taxes on liquor, beer, wine, and tobacco. In 1872, income tax was repealed. 1872, so we have to go back a long way. In 1894, the Wilson and Taft Act revised the income tax, and the income tax division within the Bureau of Internal Revenue was created. In 1895, the Supreme Court ruled that the new income tax was unconstitutional on the grounds that it was a direct tax and not apportioned among the states based on population. Income tax division was disbanded. In 1909, Congress recommended proposing a constitutional amendment to give the government the power to tax income without apportionment or burden among the several states in line with population. Congress also levied a 1% tax on corporate incomes of more than $5,000. So that was in 1909. In 1913, which is, 14 years later, as the threat of war loomed, Wyoming was the 36th and last state needed to ratify the 16th Amendment. The amendment stated that Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on income from whatever sources derived, without apportionment among the several states, and without regard to any census or enumeration. Later, Congress adopted a 1% tax on personal income of more than $3,000 and a third tax of 6% on more than $500,000. It was repealed in 1909. It repealed the 1909 corporate income tax. The first Form 1040 was introduced. I actually have a copy of the 1913 1040. You can pull it up on the computer and look at it. But I was going to make a copy and pass it around. It's very, very simple. Not like today. In 1918, the Revenue Act raised an even greater sum of money for World War I and codified the existing laws and proposed progressive income tax rate structure of up to 77%. A lot of people in this country probably, I wouldn't say any of y'all, but a lot of people in this country don't really like income tax and don't think it's fair. But we have the fairest tax system of anybody in the world. In fact, a lot of other countries come to our country to study our tax system. And because we chop it off, there's a lot of people that don't pay any tax, and then it progresses as you make more and more income. Usually the ones that are unhappy about that are the ones that make more and more income. In fact, when I've audited some individuals, I mostly work with companies, but I've had people ask me what they could do to cut their taxes, and I said, it's simple, to cut your wages. They somehow just didn't like that idea. In 1919, the states ratified the 18th Amendment barring the manufacture, sales, transport of intoxicating beverages, which is prohibition. In 1931, the IRS Intelligence Unit used an undercover agent to gather evidence against gangster Al Capone. Capone was convicted of tax evasion and served 11 years. In 1933, prohibition was repealed. Everybody decided that wasn't a good idea. In 1942, it was created the deductions for medical and investment expenses. In 1943, employers were required to withhold taxes from employees and remit it to the government quarterly. So that wasn't until 1943, and that we always refer to it as pay-as-you-go. You don't pay all your taxes on April 15th because the government needs money to operate all during the year. And really, when they take money out of your check and send it to the government, what you're doing is you're just making a down payment. Your taxes are actually computed on April 15th, and then you settle up. Either you owe them or they owe you. In 1944, it created a standard deduction. And in 1953, President Eisenhower changed the name of the agency from the Bureau of Internal Revenue to the Internal Revenue Service. In 1961, the computer age began at the IRS with the dedication of the National Computer Center in Martinsburg, West Virginia. It's still there. And I think our equipment is all 1961. They don't want to do too much to improve it. In 1986, with limited electronic filing began. In 1992, taxpayers who owed money were allowed to file returns electronically. In 1998, Congress passed the IRS Restructuring and Reform Act, which gave the taxpayer rights, and it was one of the most sweeping changes in the IRS. In 2000, the IRS acted reforms ending geographic-based structure, instituting major Operation Division.
Jeff, hold up for about 1 minute. They're going to keep cleaning this trash.
Okay.
And it's always, I've heard it, it's all we hear on the record. So if you I'll throw in something for you. I bumped into a number the other day, and somebody can check me and see if it's true. This municipality we're in right now was incorporated May 20th, 1775, the year before the numbers you started giving. My problem was I saw the date after I had seen what government entity it was. Something around here was incorporated May 20th, 1775. And at that time I thought I read that it was Hickory, but I'll have to go look it up. It was just a peculiar number because it predated the 1776.
And Wanda and I were married in 1976, which was the bicentennial year. That's the way I'm able to remember it. Which is important, I guess.
Good to remember that.
You brought up income tax, and I remembered Abraham Lincoln and the compliments of the United States Navy. I went to school in Virginia. That was stationed at Virginia Beach, Vietnam, and there we learned the great importance of the Virginia presidents, especially George Washington. So George Washington's birthday was like a hallowed event in Virginia the 15th. Well, then that was stationed at Great Lakes Naval Training Center outside of Chicago. We lived in Illinois. Oh, Abraham Lincoln was like the most important thing that ever happened to our country. And in each state, their governors, the president's birthday were major holidays. Well, we got to Illinois, and I was major disappointed as a Virginia kid that we weren't getting Washington's birthday off. So Dad granted me Washington's birthday off, allowed me to play hooky from school. And we were going, we were living outside of Chicago, we were going to a hobby shop. And my father, being the character that he was, went, "Quick, Doc, what?" He said, "Truant officer. They're always driving black Fords, so I hit the deck in the car," while Dad was chuckling away while I was hiding from the so-called truant officer, actually playing hooky from school as a little Virginia kid honoring Washington's birthday. So yeah, depending on what state you go through the school history on, and of course I'm sure you all in North Carolina probably learned that North Carolina was like primo, most important, did all these cool things. And there were some great things about North Carolina. You get all these different views, which is interesting because we are, after all, the United States of America, and how we try to bring all this together. And now back to you because
We've got our
garbage truck is
reprieve.
left.
Okay, but I am impressed that you knew about income tax. I don't know how many folks knew about the first income tax, but I haven't known it all that long. But I did find out earlier that actually Lincoln was the one that initiated. Of course, the Supreme Court shot at them. The last thing I wanted to mention on here was in the year 2000, the IRS enacted reforms ending geographic-based structure and instituting 4 major operating divisions: wage and investment, small business self-employed, large and mid-sized business, and tax-exempt government entities. And before that, we used to have regional commissioners, and we had district directors, and every state was like its own. In California had like 3 or 4 of them, but I think Georgia had 2, but each one of them was a district and so forth, which went up to the region and so forth. Well, in 2000, they got rid of all that. And what they did was they put everything under these 4 divisions. And as you can imagine, wage and investment would be people that would do 1040s and that sort of thing. Small business and self-employed was small business and people who were self-employed. Large and mid-sized business, which was where I worked. I examined large corporations. And a mid-sized corporation is one that has assets of over more than 50 million, and large is over 200 million. And so the corporations that I actually audited were billions and billions in assets. The last one I did had over 300,000 employees. So you can imagine they're pretty big companies. It'd be like in the General Motors and that type of size. More minutes. And this is more on a personal line. I worked for the Internal Revenue Service for 36 years and retired in January of 2019. When I started in October of 1982, there were 130,000 employees at the IRS. This is 1982. When I retired in 2019, there were 63,000 employees. So there was less than half, about half. Even though the work had quadrupled, there still was less than half the employees. The IRS processes about 400 million returns annually and collects over 4 trillion in tax. The IRS is responsible for distributing funds to individuals when Congress so decides. The best example is gathering information, computing, and distributing payments to individuals, businesses, and states as a result of the stimulus package is a tax that was added onto the IRS above its normal functions. Congress refuses to increase staffing for this enormous undertaking because the agency is unpopular with constituents. They just tell us to do it, and we do it. We have to. But without the Internal Revenue Service, our country could not survive one day. Based on my experience, the employees of the Internal Revenue Service are the most dedicated and loyal people I've ever met. And that's my background.
Thank you, Jeff.
Why do you think they're so unpopular?
Because they take money out of people. But you know, the power comes the same way. They take money, but the thing about it is you're getting power. But when you pay taxes, you don't notice the F-15 fighters or the warships or the highways or anything like that. They just know that people are taking their money. And hopefully none of y'all have any bad experiences, but generally you don't have a bad experience with the IRS because you're doing what you should be doing. I mean, they only go after the people that aren't doing what they should be doing. And we only want money. We're not trying to put people in jail or anything like that. We only want your money. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Very interesting things that I was not aware of, and it does give us a better perspective on your background as well. Did you work locally, or I mean, how did you get a job with the IRS?
Actually, I was working for an accounting firm, and one that told me back in 1980, I guess, that the IRS was hiring. So I sent in an application. Said I'd work anywhere in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. And I waited 2.5 years to get a notification that I got a job in Columbia, South America. South Carolina. And when I got down there and went through, there's actually a year of training. So I went through my year of training. And then I started working illegal income, which is, it's not tax evasion, although that becomes a piece of it, but it's income from narcotics, prostitution, racketeering, white-collar crime. Very, very interesting areas of work. And I was in South Carolina for 4 years. Hardship back in North Carolina because my parents lived in Statesville, her parents lived in Rutherford, and we wanted to be in between. And so I was in Hickory for 2 years. In 1988, I transferred to Charlotte for promotion. And I've been involved in a lot of training, writing curriculum, and that sort of thing, and then done a large case. So I went from really, really exciting work to going to corporations. I used to work people that had no records, and I went to taxpayers that had truckloads full of records, and I really preferred the ones that had no records, because I could kind of make it up as I went along. They had to disprove what I was doing. So anyway, that's how I got involved. I'm very proud of the organization I work for. Very proud of this organization as well, and working with Rick and the veterans and so forth. So.
Very cool. Very interesting. Thank you very much. Rick, I have an item. Rick, you want to go ahead?
3, very, very quickly. A reminder, the fundraiser we're having is at Hickory Motor Speedway, May 14th and 15th. We're working at concession stands with a monster truck ride, Knights of Destruction, round 1. So that works, and that goes income for this fiscal year, which is in May. They have another one in July. If we like that one, then we do. Yes, Nisha.
What time?
They want us there around 1:30, but I'll get more specific.
On that Friday?
On that Friday and Saturday. but we can do it in shifts. Some people get there 1:30, other people get there 6 or something like that. I'll get more specific. I just want to say the dates.
What were they again?
14th and 15th of May. I do the assignment schedule every year. I'll be glad to do it again next fiscal year. But Rhino, what I need is an updated roster. You know, we've lost some people, we're getting new people. And JV and Sheena, I'd like you to consider joining the club. Give us some thought, please. And if we know for certain, I can always plug other names in. And the assignment basically is who has the program responsibility that day. And you don't have to do the program, but you can get somebody else to do it. You're responsible for making sure there is a program that day. And then,
And if you join, the IRS will not be watching.
and the last thing is the budget. We worked on it. We sent it out to everybody, the proposed budget, but we've not had a formal approval, I don't think, have we?
No.
Okay, so I need from y'all to email me whether or not you approve the budget, so I can just say, take the word proposed off and put approved on it. That's it.
Okay, we have to have 3 goals put in by May 20th. Today is the 28th of April, and I stress when I get that close to the deadline, we need 3 goals for the club. And so I have 3 ideas, and it's looking at 3 separate areas. The first is membership. We have lost 4 members we know going into 21-22. 4 charter members. I mean, that's a big hit when you're looking at, typically we run about 28, Rhino?
Yes.
Right at 28 is a fairly decent percentage. And membership is always a concern for every Rotary president, for every Rotary year since the dawn of time. Internationally, we stay at about, 1.2 million? And it fluctuates with gains and losses and still stays at 1.2 million. So during PETS, they talk a lot about membership. So we need a membership goal, and we have to decide, and I can send this in an email since we have 6 minutes. We need to flesh out how do we want to say that we need to maintain our membership given that we're losing 4. We need to get that back.
If we beat up JV and Sheena, we could cut that by 2.
Well,
Yeah, but that's not for 21-22.
At the end of, well, see, if they wanted to join, they'll join July 1.
There you go.
All right?
That, yeah.
I mean, come on, let's get real here.
Exactly.
Officially.
All you need for the goal is a number, a +2.
Do we want a number or percentage?
No, you want a number.
Yeah, number's a whole lot easier.
Right.
And based on the end of, like the June 30, whatever that number is, then for 21-22, a +2 to that.
Does that work
Right,
for everybody?
right.
Yes. Beautiful. I like to. Second thing, I know that Cinda had mentioned earlier this morning to me that the Diversity and Equity Group meets fairly regularly. So a big push from Rotary International is the diversity and equity part of what we're doing. So we need 2 things. One, we need a specific statement, a diversity and equity statement. So I'm going to volley that right over to you guys.
We already have
Email it to you.
Email that to me, check that box.
We already have
Good.
that.
Okay, good. So the second thing, one of our 3 goals, I think, and this is just a thought, would be a diversity and equity goal, be it a goal toward programs that focus on diversity and equity, be it a service project that focuses on diversity and equity, or be it a membership component that focuses on diversity and equity. And I say this as what used to be the lone female. I was the girl for a while, but I'm not the girl now. There are many girls, and so we're increasing our diversity and equity in a lot of different ways. Yeah.
Could we potentially build that into our programming and say that we'll have a certain number of programs?
I think that's a great goal.
And here's the thing, we are building a sorry, it's I'm going to call it what I call it, a knowledge base.
Okay.
Where I've got 3 programs right now that the committee went through, just to make sure that they were worthy of it, and that they worked well, that we can roll out at any time. Also reaching out to broaden for all kinds of diversity. We're not talking about just gender specific.
Right.
We're not talking about ethnicity. I would like to see us reach out to some of the, I'm going to get the initials wrong, LGBTQ, especially youth, to partner. I think it could be a real learning experience for all of us.
Right.
To see what the challenges are all across those communities.
That's
So I got it. You tell me when.
All right, so our second goal would be in the diversity and equity compartment, and we're going to look at programming, increasing our programming. Perfect. Third goal would be service, and this takes us to an email and a phone call that, did he talk to you too, Roger? Or did you just get the email?
I talked to him on the phone
Okay.
this past Saturday.
So-
Don Hall.
Roger and I both talked to Hickory Thursday Rotary Club wants to do 100 years of Rotary Dream and do a baseball camp. And it would be Saturday the 28th of August, so it would span both my year and Roger's year. And it would be at LP Franz, and it would honor participants and families at a Hickory Crawdads game. There was a Dave Clark and Doug Cornfield. Dave was the only person to pitch professional baseball on crutches. And he contracted polio at age 2 and overcame his disability to craft a 40-year career in baseball as a player, manager, coach, etc. Rotary Club of Hickory is committing $3,000 to the project, and they're going to write a matching funds grant to get 6 of the $10,000 to $12,000 that the camp would require. They're trying to recruit 3 or 4 more clubs that they have sponsored over the years to commit another $3,000 between them, and also get matching funds from the district.
And John actually told me that they have well above 3 to 4 clubs already that
Okay.
are partnering. So when Jenny talks about another component of contributing some funds from this club, we have some leeway as far as what that amount is.
At least $500. He said it'd be great to have $1,000. We had talked at the budget meeting about doing a matching grant. So in the pink pages, if you partner with another Rotary club, you get like extra points for that partnership. So that could be our third goal, would be a service project that partners with another Rotary club, so we get a couple of pink point things, we get to partner with another club, we get to do something for kids in the community that, you know, have some challenges, and provide them with this camp and show them somebody that overcame some challenges, yada yada. Everybody feels good, we all hug, sing kumbaya, and go to the house. So there's the third possible goal. So that goal though covers 2 things. 1, we have to agree to commit to partner. 2, we might want to consider that being a matching funds thing that we write the grant for.
They are already writing a community grant, and
Okay.
there's a blanket grant, but that does affect your pink page goals because there is a characteristic in there for grant writing.
Okay.
So you'll be party to that,
Okay.
and because the grant spans 2 years and it's fiduciary control, you'll both be credited for that activity.
Okay, so then it checks off our third goal for the year, if that's something that we agree that we want to do. And we have like 45 seconds.
Don't we help Donald's camp, or do we want to do 2 different sport camps, or we already committed to Donald's camp? I feel like we should have.
The overlap doesn't hurt.
The commitment to
I'm
Donald's
asking
camp.
I'm asking Donald, because it's his camp. and-
The commitment to Donald's camp is an individual commitment, not a club commitment.
Okay.
Commitment
Well,
from
do
the
we want
club to Donald
make
is
it a
the
club?
classroom connections.
Okay.
Right.
Do we want to make it his our sports camp instead of the I'm just asking, because they've got a lot of support. I'm just asking.
I thank you, Dr. Toy.
Take a dollar.
I was thinking that one of the things we may want to consider is remember past Governor Isaac
Okay.
Olawabi. There's a foundation right now that he has at Montreat that is set aside for adult learners who may have some problems paying for their education, going back to college. And he has started a foundation, and he has a $10,000 grant that needs to be matched. I was thinking maybe we consider something along those lines. Classroom Connections, we need all the help we can get, but we're going to go whether we got the help or not. The camp, we need all the help we can get, but we're going to go whether we got the help or not from this club. I believe that it's a God mandate, and I'm not depending on you for either of those things, okay? I mean, I appreciate it, need it, but not dependent on it.
I know we have one camp already
Yeah.
in our local community that needs help, and this camp has a lot of help, it sounds like. And I get that we're partnering and you can do the pink papers and whatever, but I'm just saying, we have our own member that,
Well,
and it's a sports camp, so it's kind of,
could we do both? If they're saying that our minimum contribution would be $500, could we do that and still do at least that much for your camp?
That'd be great.
And then it's not an either or, it may be handling both at a little bit of a reduced rate, but you're still.
And John did mention that. Again, he said that they had a number of clubs already committed, and that it doesn't have to be a large financial give, but that it would be a really good opportunity for the clubs to come together jointly, work together, visibility, a lot of other benefits that don't necessarily.
The other
require
major
a lot of
goal in
money.
all this is to create the community awareness of us and the other Rotary clubs.
Right.
Just because we're an unknown entity.
Right.
And I think that we've got if the budget meeting that we did, the budget workshop that we did taught us anything, we've got the funds, we've got money.
Yeah.
And I don't think giving to either one is going to take from either one. And Tina and I were talking this morning, she was asking me about the number of Rotary clubs. I had no idea. I was like, I 10? I don't know. So I think it would be.
There's 6 in the county, I think.
I think
As long as what we're doing with I think it's beneficial, as long as it's not taken away from anything else, and it doesn't sound like it is, so let's do it.
We could be hands if we didn't do, from what I understood talking to him, we could be hands and partner that way with our time.
Well, for my camp, this is our 20th year, 20th anniversary, and we want to do it as big as it's ever been. Okay, and so that was really, some of you guys already are part of the camp already, and some of you others are going to be part of the camp. You may not know it yet, but you're already part of the camp, and so anyway, we need teachers, we need all kinds of service at this camp because we teach math and reading and STEM at the camp, and about all different kinds of careers, and we feed breakfast, snack, and lunch, and we teach basketball and deportment and pants up, dressed down, yes sir, no sir, thank you please, all those things that were taught a long time ago, okay, and that don't tend to be taught now. When I was in school, they taught those things, but you left home with those things, but sometimes it seems missing these days.
They also learn one Christian parable. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
All right.
Nancy, you got a figure for his camp, 500?
I just put it out there, I think we should support
I mean, I can
in
adjust the
addition to
budget.
a different camp
Easy enough to do.
concept.
Yeah, and I think that would cover, because you're looking at physically handicapped kids mostly for the baseball camp. You're looking at all kinds of handicaps that you deal with. It's very diverse.
Can you tell us the dates of each camp?
My camp will be July 5th through the 9th. It's a week-long camp. It's a day camp. So nobody's staying overnight. No, I don't want your kids overnight. But this that's the date. That's the question. Yeah.
And the other one?
This one is multiple days. August 28th, August 30th, and the 31st.
Right. So we don't have an overlap there, so
Or the 28th and the 31st. I apologize.
And
you
they're
don't-
both in the same fiscal year, but that's okay, you know.
If you don't know much about John Hall is anything that John Hall gets involved with is going to be a top-notch event. John has been a driving force, been a cross-country running event for many years for high school age students, and John's a real top-notch guy. So if John's heading it up, it's going to be a good event. It'll be well done, and we should feel good about. If we decide to involve ourselves, we should feel good that it'll be a top-notch event that will attract a lot of attention.
I want to be respectful of people's time. People have to get to work here, so we do need to wrap it up. Jenny, it sounds like most that I don't want to speak for everyone, but it sounds like the majority is in agreement. If you want to email, and we'll follow up that way. Bob, quickly.
The areas of focus of Rotary, there have been 6, now 7 with diversity and equity. In 2021 and 2022, we are going to see an enhanced emphasis on one particular area of focus, earth and environment. And so we need to look at, especially with the Catawba River and the trash it brought down that caused polio to be identified, we should be looking at some sort of service project that we can work with, either with the Waltons or somebody, to check the condition of the bacterial displacement in the river. Something we can do as a service group that really is significant.
All right. If you all join me in 4-way test of the things
We think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Ding!
we had a bell.
I can bring that bell.